Friends, a very warm welcome to our honorable guests, YTNU, MP of Segambut, esteemed guests, colleagues, and friends. A very good Sunday to all of you. My name is Karen, and I will be your host on this very, very exciting day. First and foremost, thanks for making time to be here for the findings of this presentation workshop for the Medical Industries at Bukit Kiara project. Thank you as well to our online guests. We have people tuning in on our Facebook Live right now. Now, this project was first conceptualized a long time ago when we saw a way to explore the fireflies that exist in this beloved urban villa. By finding from UNDP later, expert guidance from scientists at FRIM and UBI, and months of citizen science surveys later, we are here to share and discuss what we have learned today. Now, before we proceed any further, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Dr. Primaji Naidu, President of Friends of Bukit Kiara, to say a few words and introduce our guest of honor, Dr. Naidu.
Thank you, Karen, for this introductory comments. Well, welcome everyone. I think it's been quite a journey in the last 15 months, and it's nice to all be here and to share what has been this very exciting time. This is the first time we're going to sharing some of the data and so on. But before I go any further, could I just welcome our guest, Nanayo. You know already, has been very much part of our campaign to protect the green lung, and she was very instrumental, of course, in achieving the development, or partial development, in 2020. And so, I think it's very fitting that she's here to open this specific working amount. YB, of course, is our MP, and came into our area in 2018 during the GE elections then, the historic elections. And we hope, to be continuing our efforts with her, to continue the development agenda and so on. So without further ado, can I just invite YB to come and say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Kriven and friends of Bukit Kiara. My name is Hannah Yo, and I'm the MP here. So during the last election campaign, we campaigned heavily to preserve green lung in Segambut, especially to get Bukit Kiara gazetted, and also to fight for the preservation of Taman Rimba Kiara. For Rimba Kiara, the case is still before the court. It is all the way up to federal court. We won. The developer won at the High Court level, we won at the Court of Appeal level, and they appealed. So now it's before the federal court. But we will keep you posted on that. For Bukit Kiara, this is obviously you have been there, and we have worked on gazetting Bukit Kiara, but there are existing leases on Bukit Kiara. And right after we won, we had several engagements with the leaseholders. But they were not agreeable to surrender it. And so that lease is still existing, but we have gone on to gazette the balance of Bukit Kiara. So 274.3 acres have been gazetted as of today. Okay? And so with such a huge place, it is important for us to continue creating awareness for the people on what a treasure we have here in Segambut. And so we really need all of you, especially friends of Bukit Kiara, to continue to engage. And programs such as this really helps to make people see, how precious it is, not just the trees, but also the fireflies. So I hope you will spread the word, and those watching online can share. And I will continue to work with the communities to carry out more activities there. It's important that the next generation, they know how to appreciate this. With the COVID lockdown, basically we have seen a lot of children being addicted to on gadgets and online games. And so that is a challenge to a lot of parents. I encourage you to do more programs for young children so that they can go out and not be stuck at home looking at the gadget anymore. Okay? So last year, I made a pledge of 5,000 to Friends of Bukit Kiara. We signed the MOU with the government, and they are supposed to give us funds. for our constituency. So I am going to top up the 5,000 allocation to 20,000. So this year we will be presenting a total of 20,000 instead of 5,000 for you. So I hope with this little grant, okay, you will be able to host more programs and to carry out more awareness programs, especially with the next generation. Because everything we do here is for the next generation. Today, you see the flash flood in Kuala Lumpur, you will know that a piece of greenland like Bukit Kiara is so rare. And it makes it easier now for us to talk about climate change. It makes it easier now for us to talk about preserving greenland. And I was together with the group of MPs to highlight about our retention pond. So because of the highlight in the press, they have said that they are not proceeding with 4 out of 6 of the projects, but the other 2 that they have given, they said they will ensure that the capacity of the retention pond will not change. But we will continue to monitor. Okay, and we have to do it for our next generation. Okay, we owe it to them. So thank you. Have a lovely day. Thank you to all the scientists. I hope you will continue to do more research and use Bukit Kiara for all your assignments. Thank you. Well, if you indulge us for a minute, may I please welcome back to the stage Dr. Hannah, and may I also get Dr. Freeman on stage. We're just going to do a short little photo. May I invite to the stage as well, Dr. Naga, Stephen, Nanua, and Leon as well. Leon, maybe you on stage. It's not often that we're raised with such wonderful people, so we just wanted to take the moment to capture very quickly. Abi is taking a photo, feel free to. Alright, thank you so much. Alright, so thank you very much to Wailina for your very spirited words and of course your constant support. That was extremely generous and we're very, very grateful for that. Now, before we move on to today's panel session, let me introduce as well to our corner over here. We have Tika, our graphic facilitator for today. So Tika is the strategy visual consultant and graphic facilitator, trainer and designer of LOG. Tika, do you want to come up here for a second? Yeah. So Tika graduated in visual communication from London Middlesex University, and her career takes the role of an award-winning art director in various advertising agencies in Europe for over 10 years. We are very lucky because she will be here capturing all the insights from our speakers live as we speak. What an incredible talent. Thank you, Tika. Now, if I may, the first speaker for today is none other than Dr. Freeman. So, after assuming the presidency of FOBK in 2018, Doc has focused efforts in driving the development agenda and developing a narrative for the protection of the greenland via engagement with all stakeholders. He's been passionate about sustainability, the protection of the environment, and the rights of communities, increasingly devoting his time to these endeavors. He studied and worked in the UK for over a decade, spent several years in Botswana before finally arriving back in Malaysia in 1993. Now, he manages an engineering consultancy based in London. So, without further ado, please welcome back to the stage Dr. Freeman for the sharing session.
Hello. Okay, thank you so much, Karen, for that introductory comments and words. So let me begin. I want to do 2 things today. I want to set the scene, right? I want to give you a bit of a background to Bukit Kiara. I think it's important to understand the history of where we come from, so that we understand where we can go forward with it. The other thing I'd like to do is share with you how we got here in terms of the Firefly Study. I think that's also quite significant in terms of a bit of background. So let me begin. So of course, we have evolved into an organization. This organization actually has been around for about 20 years. But it's only in the last 6 to 7 years that we have actually registered with the authorities. So the mission of the organization has changed over those years. For the simple reason that we've had different priorities in that time. In the last couple of years, I think the priority has been very clear. The gazettement has now been achieved partially. Of course, we still have a bit more work to be done. But the important thing was that I think we need to basically develop the narrative so that we can actually protect this green lung for perpetuity. And so I think this is really what the mission is now. And the vision to do that basically is the kind of things we're doing here now. And we'll come back to that. So let me begin by going into a bit of history. At the turn of the last century, during the colonial times, obviously, this land, as you can see, the Bukit Kiara estate is named here. This map was actually done in 1923, and prior to this, during that period, obviously, a lot of the lands in Malaysia were handed over to the colonial planters. And so Bukit Kiara was one of the major estates, and as you can see here in the image, let me just get my pointer to work. You can see Penchala Malay Reserve, which is still obviously very much there. Segambut Estate, Bangsa, as you can see, another estate, and so on and so forth. Of course, this whole area, Segambut, is YB Hanayo's constituency. And it was all primarily estates, 100 years ago. So the question now is, where has this come from? So when you think about an estate, a rubber plantation, it's actually a monoculture, right? And so what happens, and the scientists tell us that if you have a monoculture plantation, your biodiversity dies. And so, this is an interesting point. And yet today, we have in Bukit Kiara a very biodiverse green lung, which is regenerated really over the last 40 years. So, and for the reasons for that are many, and of course that requires a whole new meeting to discuss. But maybe just to say, suffice to say that, all the time that Kiara was developed as an estate, there was always the North Kiara, which was not developed, because this is where the Malay Reserve land was, right? And so there was not very much development. So the green lung always had a contiguous, what you call a green area all the time. And then within Kiara Estate itself, because it was so hilly and slopey and so on, not all of the land was developed into a rubber estate. So we always had some, the green and the original green still very much part of this development. So what that has meant is in the last 40 years, the biodiversity has been able to spread from those green lungs, existing green lungs, back into Kiara. And we now have a regenerated secondary forest. And it's a history which needs to be written and retold, because I think it's a very important part of the history of Bukit Kiara, and it's unique in that context. So the history of Kiara goes back really to the time in the 70s when government actually took over this whole real estate. I think this is the area we're looking at, bounded by all of this. This is the whole of the Bukit Kiara estate. It was about over 1,500 acres. It was taken over by government on the basis that this was going to be for public purpose. So this is very important. There were many estates which were taken over at that same time, but Kiara was unique in the sense that it was basically, we were told, it was stated objectively that this would be done for public purpose. And what that meant was the owners of the land were not paid commercial rates, right? So they were given non-commercial rates to take it over. So that was in 1976 when this happened. And then you go on, about a couple of years later, there was a huge master plan drawn up of this area about converting this into a botanical garden, an arboretum, and also sort of a national mausoleum. And of course, that was an amazing plan. We still have that original plan with us, but it never got materialized. So what has happened now over the years is that we have a situation where this land has become developed for other purposes, and so we are now in a situation where we only have 400 acres of that original 1,500 acres left. So then basically that's where we're at. So moving on, 2020 we had this partial gazettement, but there's a lot more to be done, and we'll come back to that in a bit. So moving on, this is what is available today. This is what's left. All of you who have been involved in citizen scientists have been working basically in this area, and we have the trails and so on. This is the 400 acres which has been still left. And of this, about 2/3 of it around here, this area is still not gazetted yet, and the small spots within the green line is still under lease to a private entity. But we are hoping that by 2027 this whole thing will become gazetted. YB Hannah mentioned Taman Bukit Kiara, of course a very important part of this history. This was part of the original real estate, and important also because we've had a massive fight to protect it and stop the development. What is very interesting about Taman Bukit Kiara is because it was originally in the 80s designated as the nursery for DBKL. They planted some amazing trees and so on. And that's why we have such a diverse nature of trees in Bukit Kiara. And the bird life there is second to none at all. And it's very, very vibrant because of that early interventions. But unfortunately, of course, the nursery never actually went on to become a permanent feature of this area. Next. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the firefly journey. Okay, so that's a bit of the history. So now, the reason we have started to do this work on fireflies actually starts in 2017 because we had one of our members, in fact many of you may know him, Kunhap, who in one of his regular walks actually raised this issue of fireflies in Bukit Kiara. We immediately contacted the Malaysian Nature Society. In fact, Sunny Wong is here. Sunny, where are you? Hi, Sunny Wong is here. And he was really instrumental in coming here, doing a bit of work, telling us basically what a unique thing we have in Bukit Kiara. So we then started to organize around it, and you can see the first meeting we had was this in 2018 when we had what was supposed to have been a small public meeting with MNS, FOBK and a few residents in Kiara. It became a mass meeting because somebody actually posted the meeting in the Siliso's website. And apparently something like, I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but almost 500 people turned up. So for us that was a very important moment because we realized very quickly that this had a real draw. People were very interested in fireflies, and we could use this as our anchor, if you like, to promote awareness and so on and so forth. And this is where it starts. Okay, this is why we started the journey. And you can see over the next year or so, we had quite a few little things. We started to train ambassadors. Thanks again to Sunny and his diligence. We actually had a couple of people trained up. And then we celebrated some of the key events in the Firefly calendar. And then we had in October 2019, in fact, YB Hannah brought her constituent, we call MEPs, and we had an amazing event actually, where they got very involved in studying with us the Fireflies. So many of you may have already met Marcus, who is the grandson of Kunhap, and he has been very involved with us in different aspects, but he also did a walk for children in November 2019. But I think the most seminal moment was actually after that, in November 2019. I had this very interesting meeting. Actually, it was one of MNS's meetings which was organized to discuss various aspects of biodiversity. And I met one Farida who had done a PhD in what do you call fireflies. And I was able to convince her to come and do a small study in Kiara for our plant. We had a little bit of money and we were able to expand it. And this is a very important meeting and study because she was the one who introduced us to Dr. Nada, Dr. Terry, and a whole group of scientists who were involved with this area of work. And of course, the rest of it is really a bit of history. And then finally, to finish off on that segment of our journey, basically we had in February 2020, we organized a meeting to basically present the findings of the study. And again, we were just amazed. I mean, when we advertised the event, well over 300 people actually turned up. Remember? Sorry. Yeah. And so it's a very seminal moment, and we since then have grown into doing many other things. So that study and the fact that we had this data was able to then we were able to use it really to do a very detailed project proposal to the Small Grants Programme, and we were successful in getting that funding, and this is why we're here today. Right? So let me very quickly finish off with a few slides. The Magical Mysteries of Bukit Kiara is the project we've been embarking on, and these were the 4 areas of work. We started with the development of the science protocols, citizen science protocols, with the scientists. And I think I really must say here now that without Nada and Terry, this would not have been possible. And I think we have a real debt to owe to them. And then we did the field surveys, which we will be discussing today. And then in the last month or two, our scientists have been formalizing the research and the research findings. And then the next few months, basically what we're going to do is public events. This is the start of the first meeting to do this. Again, I won't spend too much time with this, but you can see that it was a long journey. And we are towards the end, the last few months now, we are going to basically do, we're going to basically do a citizen science, this is today's meeting, and then after this we're going to have further engagements before we close in around about June or so. So in terms of statistics, we had almost 100 people being involved in the citizen science project. 50% of them were basically active CSS that we had already attended at least one engagement. And we have about 10 or so, less than 10 or so junior CSS. So you can see there's a real spread of age of people involved during this last 15 months. And out of that 98, we have something like 16 of us who have become, shall we say, fully trained ambassadors. These are people who have spent at least 2 occasions with us on site. But actually, when you look at it, some of these ambassadors have spent a lot more time in the greenland, helping with various aspects. They've gone beyond what was actually their calling. And I think we hope that this team will become our permanent team to take this forward. So here we are today, and we have done all these field surveys. I won't spend much time with this. I think Dr. Nada and Dr. Terry will go through this in some detail. And of course, we have the field surveys which were done, which has been very important and interesting. I think before I end, I really need to say something about our supporters. Of course, FRIM and Kubi have been very much our partners. And again, I think every one of us who have been involved will say this, that they have gone beyond what we had expected. They were always there. They always turned up for the events, for the hikes, and so on and so forth. And M&S, of course, started us on the journey. We have a lot to thank them for. And I think we also need to recognize that Jabatan Landskap have gone out of their way to make it possible for us to carry on this work. Despite the lockdown, despite the restrictions, they have made it possible. And I have much to thank Honorarium for doing all this background work for us. Finally, I think let me just end by saying that this would not have been possible without the funding from the GEF Small Grants Programme. And again, we received the funds. But not only did we receive the fund, but we received a lot of on-the-ground support from Shin, who is the project coordinator, and also Fitra, who assists in really helping us move forward with the program despite all the challenges which we were having. And so I think we owe gratitude to them for going beyond what was required. So on that note, I will end, and hopefully we can unfold with some amazing data and discussion after for this, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fibbin, for sharing the foundations that pretty much led to this project. Now, we have our second speaker for today, and it's my great pleasure to introduce her. Dr. Nada Badruddin was appointed by Forest Research Institute Malaysia, that's FRIM, as a research officer to work on fireflies of Selangor River. Her research was focused on understanding the larval stage, which is the lesser known life stage of the congregating fireflies that we know in Kuala Selangor. Now, she was also part of the team that developed a non-destructive method to monitor the congregating firefly population of Selangor River. The method continues to be used to monitor the firefly population in the area until today. Later, she expanded her research scope to include identifying the biodiversity of the tropical inland forest fireflies, aka the solitary fireflies that we know and might be speaking a lot more about today. This firefly group is relatively understudied compared to the congregating fireflies, and from the study, information of Malaysian firefly species and how species composition varied with habitat characteristics are better understood. Now, Dr. Nada, the stage is yours.
About what we have studied in Bukit Kiara in respect to the fireflies. So I think we'll begin with first giving the insights of what the fireflies of Bukit Kiara based on the project that ran from beginning of March last year, and our last session of sampling was done in February of this year. So the study was actually conducted to identify how many fireflies there are present in the Bukit Kiara area, and we also want to understand how it relates to the microhabitats characteristic, and therefore we also collect habitat characteristic parameters in Bukit Kiara, and at the same time while sampling or surveying for the fireflies, we also collect snails, which are known to be the main food source for the fireflies. We also do collect other invertebrates that we see being attacked by the firefly larva, which is a predator at that stage. And also, one of the study is to identify the light flash patterns of fireflies that text us in the area. As we know, fireflies, they communicate by light, and they have specific light flash patterns. Sorry. So in this study, with the help of FOBK, actually, we have able to identify, narrow down to 4 trails and 2 tarmac paths so that we visited in a few sessions. These 4 nature trails are actually surrounding in the Bukit Kiara, and it was spread out in the north, south, east, and sort of like that. So it's quite a good coverage to represent the whole area of Bukit Kiara. And we also covered the tarmac path where usually the joggers used to do their jogging. So overall, the study can be divided into 2 methods of data collection. One way of data collection, which is during the field work. We managed to do 1 inception field work where we identify the trails that we want to visit in the coming months. And we are able to do 9 times of firefly sampling and firefly and snail sampling sessions, and 3 firefly light flash pattern study, and also 9 habitat sampling sessions. In the lab, the specimens collected are identified, we organize the data, and also do the analysis of the data, habitat, the fireflies, and also the light flash patterns. So this map shows the tracks and the nature trails that we go into, which is four are into the green areas: the office trail, the magic carpet trail, snake and ladder, and keladi, while the tarmac path is the one joining the keladi to the roundabout, and the roundabout going back to the guardhouse. So in total, the length of the trail is this match. So we are able to cover quite a long stretch of areas of firefly. Like I mentioned just now, there are 3 sampling sessions that were held to understand the fireflies in the area. One is the firefly snail sampling session, the other one habitat sampling session, and the firefly light pattern study. So we want to understand, we do it in 3 consecutive nights for the firefly and snail sampling, whereby we visit all these trails and paths almost every month since March of last year. However, we are able to do so in May, June and July due to the movement restriction order, but we continue again in August up to February of this year. And then for the habitat study, where we collected 4 parameters, this actually involved mainly the citizen scientists, and they conduct this during the weekends, during a period of 2 days, and they covered the 4 nature trails to collect leaf litter depth measurement, percentage of canopy closure, vegetation density, and also the soil dryness, pH and temperature of the soil. And finally, the light flash pattern is mainly to record the flash pattern by video and input it into a software where we can analyze the wavelengths of the fireflies light flash pattern. So what have we learned so far based on this study? We can group this into 4 main findings, which is the species that has been found in the Bukit Kiara, how they are distributed along the nature trails and the tarmac path, and what are the influences of the habitat features that may impact their presence in the area, and also a preliminary light flash pattern study of the fireflies. So this is a graph showing the occurrence and abundance of fireflies in the duration of our study. I selected only for Magic Carpet Trail because this is the most highly abundant and most diverse firefly area of Bukit Kiara among the samples, among the areas that we sample. So as you can see, Colofotia and Lamprigera, Colofotia and Lamprigera. The purple is Colofotia and the Lamprigera is the orangey color. Almost all months they occur, but other species, there seem to be months that they are not present. So there could be some seasonal variation. And this graph also is not grouping them based on larval and adult stages. So if we are to group it that way, we might find a difference in the occurrence as well, whereby we might only find the larva in certain months and then a burst of adult abundance in the preceding months. So there's more analysis that can be done on the data that we have collected, but this is briefly a general look at what we can see in terms of their abundance and their presence. And essentially in the Magic Carpet Trail, if we go by month, we can see that each session, at least 5 species can be found in one session. Not necessarily the same species, so there are interchange, but we will see more than 5 and above species of fireflies in one session. This map shows the 4 nature trails and the path. We group it according to the distribution and presence according to species. There are actually 7 species of fireflies in Bukit Kiara. Sorry. This is not actually a firefly, it's a starworm, a Ragophthalmitidae, but we still record them because just to show that sometimes people might see them as well, so it's good to have a record on them because they also behave almost similar to the fireflies, they glow at night. So if you can see here, the initial findings from the graph is that for the Lamprey-Jera, which is the big iconic firefly species, it is quite spread out and in large number across all the paths and nature trails, except for the office trail. So they are persistent in all parts of the Bukit Kiara, but in the 9 sessions that we were sampling, there was none in the office trail. For the Colophobia, they also occur in all nature trails, and besides Lamprey-Jera, they are also the more persistent in the tarmac section of the Bukit Kiara. And for Pygoluciola dumuna, it was only recorded in Magic Carpet and also in Keladi area. This is linked with the presence of stream in Magic Carpet and along the Keladi trail. And we know for Pygoluciola dumuna specifically, the larva is closely linked to the streams. They actually live in the stream, along the stream beds, and that's why they are more confined to the areas where there are streams, shallow streams. And if you see also for Pyrocelia, most are in this section. We haven't found any in the top part of Bukit Kiara. Diaphanous is actually a bit seasonal. If we, like mentioned, if we group it differently, how we analyze it according to the adults and the larvae, we would see that they, according to months also, they are not persistent in every session that we collected. So this is Ragophthalmitidae. These two, Stenocladius and Rhylaster, are actually diurnal fireflies. So we do not, usually we only collect the larvae because all firefly larvae are active at night. So these are all actually data of the larvae. So these are also occurring in quite a low number. And then finally, we do see that the only Lamprey-Jera and Colophobia are persistent on the tarmac path, which indicates also that if we are to study on the fireflies, looking for them just along the tarmac road is not sufficient. But if you are to study specifically to Lamprey-Jera, for example, the tarmac path may be an easier way and may be easily accessible for citizen science work. So I would like to share with you some interesting findings of the study so far. First, on the first trip in March of last year, we managed to capture a live firefly female Lamprey-Jera nesting in the ground, and can even see the eggs inside. And this Lamprey-Jera female actually glow when it's in the nest. So far that I know on record, this is something of a new observation when it comes to the Lamprey-Jera in its habitat. Usually such observation is only made in the lab. So for Malaysia, I would say this is something very novel, something new and interesting that we are able to discover this in Bukit Kiara. We also managed to see the behavior of the firefly larva feeding. As you see here, Colofotia larva entering the shell of snail and feeding into it. And then there's also dry luster larva, which is the dino firefly. All this while we thought that firefly larvae are predators. It seems that they also do scavenge on carcasses. This is how it seems that they also exhibit this behavior. There's one occasion also, a big Lamprigera larva. It looks like it's already dying and is being attacked by a harvestman at the tip of the light organ. And also this Stenocladius larva, very much small in terms of the size compared to the size of the prey, yet it's attacking it and devouring it. So where do we go from here after this work? It is still preliminary, but we learned so much from this work actually, and from here I think we can continue to work on the population dynamic assessment that is currently taking off already during this project, and if possible to identify the fireflies up to species level, because at the moment we are only giving it into genus level, and maybe we only covered the 4 nature trails and the termite path, and I know Bukit Kiara is much bigger, so there's the opportunity to explore other areas in Bukit Kiara for fireflies specifically, and also from there maybe we can identify important firefly sites within Bukit Kiara, and eventually maybe expand the research work of what has been done in Bukit Kiara in terms of fireflies to other greenlands areas in Kuala Lumpur, maybe around Malaysia. So lastly, I take this opportunity to thank everyone for making this project possible. Definitely, Dr. Terry and myself would not have got this much information if not for all the very passionate volunteers, citizen scientists that have helped us throughout the whole 12 months of this project. We are very grateful to get to know all of you, to be able to share our experience and knowledge with all, and hope this sort of work will continue even beyond this project. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you, Dr. Nada, for those incredibly comprehensive insights. Now, obviously we have much more to learn, so without further ado, let me introduce to you our third speaker, Dr. Terry Goh, who is actually joining us virtually. Now, Dr. Terry Goh is an ecologist who works with issues related to citizen science, placemaking. All right, just hold on one second. Thank you so much, YB Hannah, for joining us. For those watching at home, YB has had to leave because she's got other schedules, so we have just bid a farewell to her. But nonetheless, the excitement continues today with, yes, our next speaker, who is Dr. Terry. As I was saying, so he is an ecologist who works with issues related to citizen science, placemaking, environmental education, and urban ecology. He has interest in crafting narrative-based nature experiences, and his core competencies include identifying and documenting urban wildlife, communicating the scientific concepts in a concise manner through writing, presentation for photography, and simplifying formal scientific knowledge for the layperson, which makes him, great for this job. Dr. Terry, take it away.
So today I'll be talking about the citizen science aspect of how we've studied fireflies here. So one very unique approach that we did with Bukit Kiara is that we, instead of it just being pushed by purely scientists, we also allowed public participate in this discovery as well. So what is citizen science? In general, citizen science is a voluntary involvement of the public in scientific research. So it's where we allow the public to come in and work with scientists to solve real problems and answer real questions. Citizen science is science, and anyone can be a citizen scientist, as we have shown in this program. So what's the advantages of doing citizen science? One is that there's more boots on the ground, so there's more people who can. There are more people there who can do more research. There's only so few scientists, and we can't be there constantly. But having citizen scientists around allows us to monitor much more regularly, and this also helps communities understand the scientific process. How do scientists go out and gather data, and how much data actually is needed for scientific discovery. Sorry about that. Okay, another advantage is that we can share expertise with the public. Not only do scientists bring something to the table, but the public also brings their own knowledge to the table. For instance, many of our citizen scientists could set up, all these Excel sheets, and you're quite good with computers and all that kind of thing. As well as this helps empower communities to make evidence-based decisions. So now that we have information about these fireflies, and the citizen scientists themselves participate and collect the information about fireflies, they are able to make informed decisions about how to preserve these fireflies, how to keep these fireflies part of the ecosystem. So, as an example of the citizen science that we have done in this study, one is that the citizen scientists had to come in and help to record information, especially about what we call abiotic and biotic factors. So we're looking at what was the environment like. So we brought our citizen scientists in. They came on the weekends, and after a while, they could just do it by themselves. They didn't need any supervision from scientists. And it became like a kind of family affair. Actually, you bring their kids, and the kids could learn as well. So it became a very educational tool for both adults and children as well. And while they were doing this, they were collecting raw data, which later was passed to the science team, and then the science team processed this data. And with this processed data, we can make decisions. We can use this to write our technical reports for management of these fireflies, as well as monitoring. So now that we've got out and collected this data, now we have a baseline in order to understand how can we further preserve the wildlife of Bukit Kiara. So I'm going to talk a bit more about what we know about Lampreyara and how citizen science really helped to make a difference in this study. So as you know, Lampreyara is the very large larva, probably one of the largest firefly species in the world. And it's very, very common in Bukit Kiara. So Dr. Nada just told you about how we found the female firefly in the nest. And well, part of the reasons why we managed to find that female firefly is because we were walking around with citizen scientists, and they spotted something glowing in the ground. So, we just poked a hole in there, and then we managed to find the nest. So this is one of those discoveries where if we weren't cooperating with, friends of Bukit Kiara, we might not have even noticed that. Many of the observations, such as this observation of the Lampreyara feeding on, I can see a slug here. So many of these observations were also found during citizen scientists, when we're working with the citizen scientists. sometimes they help us document these sightings, so that we have a better understanding of like how do these fireflies eat, what do they eat. As Dr. Nada said just now, one of the discoveries that we had is also that the fireflies regularly scavenge. They're not just predators, but they're also scavengers. And sometimes some of these animals, which likely are squashed by a mountain biker or a hiker, end up as food for the fireflies during nighttime. So it's not just what the fireflies eat, but also the things that eat the fireflies. So we've also found evidence of other animals feeding on the fireflies. This is one example, and we have actually managed to identify what it is. So this is Sandokan malayana. It's a type of harvestman. So it looks like a spider. It's not really a spider. It's like a different type of arachnid. And this is probably one of the first recorded cases of it feeding on firefly larvae. So all these insights into the life cycle of the Lampligera came about through working with the community and getting out into the field with people. However, there was one really big mystery that really got us really, we really were scratching our heads about this, because we had observed the female adult, we had observed the larva, but we had never seen the adult male yet. And we went into the forest like 9 times, almost 12 times. You count the other surveys, and we never found adult male Lampligera. So, at this point, we were already starting to give up. We were starting, maybe do these things not exist? So we tried to get more insight into the Lampligera itself. And from that, we did a bit of a study. We got a bunch of citizen scientists together to help us with the data gathering, and we went into the forest at night and then just counted the Lampligera and measured their size. So this is assuming here doing marking and measuring Lampligera. So one thing about Lampligera is that, like all insects, what they do is that their growth is based on stages. They grow by stages. So they don't grow continuously like a human, but they molt each time. And each time they molt, they get bigger. So if you look at this is a histogram of the Lampligera. And if you look at this histogram, you can see that there's actually multiple peaks of the histogram. So what this means is that they are continuously breeding. If there was only one peak, then there would be a single breeding season. However, thanks to the data collected by citizen scientists, we could get an idea that actually the Lampligera are breeding constantly in Bukit Kiara. And by knowing that, then we know that probably the male is available at all times of the year. But we still couldn't find it, and that really was a bit frustrating until we got a WhatsApp message one day, and a hiker actually spotted the male. And when we talked to the hiker, Mr. Ganesan, we managed to get some really good insights into possibly why we weren't finding it. One is that he told us exactly where he found it, and that was a trail that we've gone through many, many times. But perhaps the best insight was that he spotted it during sunset around 7:45. And from this insight, we tried to survey the same sites that we've been before, but during sunset. So, and when we went in, roughly about 8 o'clock, there it was, the very elusive male firefly. So now we suspect that probably it has been in the forest all along. It's just that usually our survey started around 8:20, and possibly their activity period is very, very short, maybe from the time the sun sets until like maybe 8:10 maybe. So with a very, very short active period, we were going in, but we were just missing it. And these insights by the public really, really helped us to find, to make these scientific discoveries. So at the moment, we now understand pretty much most of the Lamprey's life cycle. We've got the nest, we understand it from eggs, larvae, all the way to the adult. We still don't know about where they pupate, but maybe that's a discovery for another time. One of the next steps of where we can go from here is that we're actually trying to identify what species of Lamprey's this is. So there's about 20 species of Lamprey's recorded so far. But within our part of the world, which is the more archipelago side of Southeast Asia, there are about 3 species. One recorded from Borneo in Kalimantan. The other one recorded in Sumatra. The other 2 species are recorded from Sumatra. So right now we're trying to rule out whether it's any of these 3 species. And if it is, then potentially it could be a new species which is discovered right in the middle of the Gel in Bukit Kiara. So moving forward, what we could do is set up monitoring protocols so that scientists don't always have to be there to monitor the health of the Lamprey's population, but the public actually can come in maybe every month, measure fireflies, see how the population is doing, and using baselines that we've established from this study, we can actually see, is it increasing, is it decreasing? So from there, we can actually understand whether the ecosystem is healthy for the fireflies or not. Other types of monitoring that we could be doing is looking at the different species of fireflies. So as Dr. Nada described previously, we have been doing flash pattern studies. So we've been looking at what type of patterns do these fireflies make as they fly. Some of them, like the Diphanus, doesn't blink, so you can see that it's just like a solid light. While other species, like the Colophotria and the Pygoluciola, do have a pattern, and these patterns have a certain interval to them. So using this recorded information, we could actually make like animations, and then we can use this to teach citizen scientists how to spot each firefly. And from there, you can actually monitor the fireflies just based on their flash pattern or how they fly. And from these kind of observations, we can see the seasonality of the fireflies. As Dr. Nada said, some species, such as the Diphanus and the Pygoluciola, are not found every month. They're usually found during certain months only. And if we can identify like the active months of some of these fireflies, then you have an event. You can go in and you know when to go in, when you can spot the most fireflies. So future discoveries that we could do with citizen science. There are some species where we have not found adults yet. So potentially, what we could do is maybe work together with some hikers, or since there's so many people always in the trails, if we like have some guides, and maybe the hikers can help to collect some of these day flying fireflies, which we still have not obtained yet, and maybe that will help us identify what exactly these fireflies are. also sometimes some adult females have not been found. Like this is the Pyrocilia firefly, and while we found the larva and the males, the females are still a bit rare. So, you know, maybe with all the hikers around, we might be able to also find some clues to the biology of this firefly as well. As well as I said just now, identifying the possible seasons of the fireflies. So potentially we will know when is the best times to go out and look at fireflies. So yeah, that's all I have for citizen science and firefly discoveries. I hope that we're going to see more of these discoveries in the future. Now that there's like a trained core of firefly ambassadors that can go out and do science now. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Terry, for sharing all those illuminating insights. Now, we have two more speakers who will be speaking today. Some of you may have seen at home, you may have seen the picture of Dr. Lim Teck Win. Unfortunately, he's unable to join us today. However, we have in his place the very, very capable Stephen Wong to share about the biodiversity of Bukit Kiara. Now, Stephen holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Management with honours from Monash University, Malaysia. He possesses a herpetofauna checklist for Bukit Kiara of 5 years and counting. He has 5 years of working experience in wildlife ecology, where he specializes in herpetofauna surveys, camera trapping survey, compiling species checklists, and report writing. He is an overall very enthusiastic wildlife photographer specializing in reptiles and amphibians. To the stage, may I have Stephen?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. And thank you, Dr. Nada and Dr. Tari, for the very informative speech. I learned a lot about fireflies today. Yes, I regret not being able to join you during your sampling sessions. It would have been very insightful for me. So a little bit more about my background. I am a nature guide and an avid wildlife photographer, as you'll see my photos later. And my history with Bukit Kiara started with Malaysian Nature Society. When I was working previously as an environmental consultant, on my weekends I volunteer for Malaysian Nature Society, specifically for the Reptiles and Amphibian Special Interest Group, or the Herpetofauna Special Interest Group. And one of our first few activities is to go on night walks at Bukit Kiara. And to be honest with you, during my first few night walks at Bukit Kiara, even myself as a nature enthusiast, I didn't think much of Bukit Kiara, because I was thinking, oh, such a small patch of forest, what are you going to find here? But to my surprise, I managed to find lots of very interesting animals that I'll be sharing with you today. And it really changed my mind and how I think about fragmented habitat or small patches of forest. So today I would like to invite everyone to consider habitat fragmentation and connectivity. So I've got two satellite images here, and we got this from Google Earth, of course. The first image here is from 1984, and you can see that the forest here is a contiguous, connected patch of forest. And over the years, our forest has been slowly fragmented, and it has become small patches that is not connected, if you may, from one another. And here I'd like to invite everyone to have a look at Bukit Kiara and consider it as a greater habitat in connection to the other patches of forest around it. So this is Bukit Kiara here, it's right there. And then you can see that there are several green patches that's next to it that is disconnected by roads and some houses. And a lot of people, and myself included, when I first entered Bukit Kiara, we thought that it's a lost cause, because Bukit Kiara is so fragmented and it's just a tiny island of forest. But there are these little patches of forest that are still very much connected, even though it's physically fragmented, but there are several animals that can still freely pass from one patch to another. And we mustn't be too pessimistic to think that, oh, it's fragmented, we cannot rehabilitate it, we cannot combine it together again. We must be more optimistic about this and think further and think beyond, and try our best to reconnect this habitat. And I'll show you some photographs that gave me hope of these forests being connected and them being contiguous. So this is iNaturalist, and if you look for Bukit Kiara, you see that, there's a patch here highlighted to what we usually consider Bukit Kiara as, and there's lots of observations that's within Bukit Kiara. In fact, there is 1,500 observations of 533 species, and yeah, carefully logged by all of our citizen scientists. And yeah, as you can see, lots of birds, some insects. But if you look into the mammals, there are only 4 species of mammals that are logged in Bukit Kiara, which is very strange, and we know for sure that there is more than 4 species of mammals that occurs in Bukit Kiara. One of them being the dusky leaf monkey or the spectacled langur. I'm sure lots of hikers here, lots of people present here would have seen them at Bukit Kiara. Not only that, if you go on night walks, there's a very good chance of you seeing musangs or civets at Bukit Kiara. I've seen 2 species there myself personally, the small-toothed palm civet and the common palm civet. Not only that, over the years, as I started going to Bukit Kiara more and more often, I've actually observed slow lorises. Yes, slow lorises in Bukit Kiara. Yeah, might I remind you that this is a vulnerable species, close to being endangered. They are threatened by poaching activities. You know, people find them to be so cute, they feel the need to bring them to their homes and keep them as pets, which is extremely unfortunate. But yeah, it was very, very surprising to me as well when I first seen Sunda slow loris at Bukit Kiara. Yeah, till now I've seen 3 of them. So I think there's a decent, healthy population of slow lorises in Bukit Kiara. And yeah, I've seen slow lorises at other forest patches as well, at SACF, for example. And what's more exciting is that I've seen a Sunda pangolin at Bukit Kiara. And this really, really surprised me, and it really got me to think that, you know, there's more to Bukit Kiara than what I previously thought, that these fragmented patches of forest might be more connected than what we previously thought. And we should still continue to fight to reconnect all these forests so that animals can freely roam between one patch of forest to another. Yeah, and I remind everyone that Bukit Kiara used to be a rubber plantation, as Dr. Kriban shared earlier. A rubber plantation that has rehabilitated and reforested to a point where you can see rare species like slow loris and pangolins. Yeah, and I've got more to show. Moving on. So this is not observed in Bukit Kiara, but this is observed in the neighboring patches of forest. I have seen Sunda colugo at KDCF. And if you saw my photograph, the map earlier, KDCF is not that far from Bukit Kiara. And I've also seen lesser mouse deer at KDCF. And it is, I wouldn't think that it's surprising for lesser mouse deer and the colugo to show up in Bukit Kiara. It might be a matter of time before myself or other visitors of Bukit Kiara, other citizen scientists see it at Bukit Kiara. Moving on, I'd just like to share a little bit about some of the other projects that myself, Dr. Tequin, and my colleague Stephen Page has been working on in the green patches of the Klang Valley, within the Klang Valley. We've done a lot of work in Shah Alam Community Forest, which is right here, which is part of the Bukit Cheraka Forest Reserve. So yeah, Bukit Cheraka Forest Reserve is this whole patch here. And we've discovered that Shah Alam Community Forest that was previously thought to be excised from Bukit Cheraka Forest Reserve, Dr. Tequin has discovered that that is not, they haven't done the due diligence to de-gazette it properly. So it's technically still part of Bukit Cheraka Forest Reserve, but there is actually some plans to develop it As far as we can see from the local plan, there is plans to put a cemetery and a road through Shah Alam Community Forest, which is a shame. And of course, we are trying our best for it to be protected. So just to quickly share with you some of our discoveries from our latest camera trapping activities at Shah Alam Community Forest. Yeah, we've got 8 camera traps within Shah Alam Community Forest. I'll show you some of the camera trapping locations. In one of them, C9, we've managed to photograph tapir at Shah Alam Community Forest. And Dr. Tekwin also shares a lot of the same thoughts that I have. Previously, he didn't think much about fragmented forests as well. But when he was living in Kota Kemuning, one day, there was a tapir that was stuck in a drain right outside his house at Kota Kemuning. I think some of you might have remembered the newspaper article about that. And Kota Kemuning is not exactly directly adjacent to Bukit Kiara Forest Reserve. And the poor tapir would have to cross several major highways and roads to get to Kota Kemuning. So this is to show you that these habitats that we previously think were very fragmented and, oh no, there's no hope for these patches of forest anymore. That's not true. A lot of animals can transverse through human habitat and human conurbations. Yes, and we should try our best to reconnect them. Moving on, we've got another camera here closer to the entrance of Shah Alam Community Forest, and this is our first location where we managed to detect a large Indian civet. So a lot of us, we are very used to common palm civets and small tooth palm civets, musang pandan, but this is musang jabat. And this is a civet that I've never seen in real life with my eyes. They are very shy, and so far they have only been detected on our camera traps. And this civet that I would very much love to see in person and get a nice photograph of. Yes, this is another large Indian civet captured in another location in camera trap 5. In total, we have, I think, 5 camera locations where we managed to photograph the large Indian civet. At camera trap 6, we managed to photograph some leopard cats. You can see 2 of them playing here right next to the river. Yep. This is another one at camera trap 1. And after getting this photo from a camera trap, and of course I was very excited to be able to see a leopard cat being captured on our camera traps. Exactly one week later, I went to SACF for a night walk, and I had the pleasure of seeing it in person. Yes, and I managed to photograph it with a 7300, no less. It's a relatively short telephoto lens, and it had the patience to sit there to look at me and say, what do you want? I just want a photo of you. So yeah, I was very, very pleased to be able to get this photo. Now back to Bukit Kiara. Earlier I said several times that different connectivity is different to different animals. To birds, the different green patches throughout Klang Valley might as well be contiguous because they can fly from one habitat to another. But for mammals, it might be a different story. It might be a significant challenge for some mammal species to cross from one patch of forest to another. But this is not an issue for some snakes, especially pythons. It's very well documented that snakes like reticulated pythons can use our drainage systems as highways, if you may, to transverse from one patch of forest to another or another. And in fact, a lot of reticulated pythons are actually very well adapted to human habituation, which is a good and bad thing, I guess. Other than that, something that's very exciting is that I've managed to find a blood python in Bukit Kiara. This was very, very exciting to me. On one of our MNS night walks, Malaysian Nature Society night walks, we had a group of close to 30 people on that night walk. And I was pointing out some frogs, lizards, and snakes. And I looked on the bank and I saw this blood python. And the coloration on blood pythons are fantastic. They're very, very beautiful snakes, very short and stumpy. And because of their interesting appearance, they are quite popular in the exotic pet trade as well. And unfortunately, they get poached quite often. So yeah, I was through the moon to be able to see this. New snake species to me, it's a lifer in herper and birder jargon. and to be able to see it in Bukit Kiara with 20 people in tow, no less. So that was just amazing to me. Moving on, I'd just like to share with you some other snake species that I've encountered in Bukit Kiara. So far, I've seen 5 different species of bronzebacks. The painted bronzeback, the striped bronzeback, the striated bronzeback, Haas's bronzeback, and blue bronzeback. In total, there are 7 species of bronzebacks in the whole of Peninsular Malaysia and Borneo, Sabah, Sarawak. And we have not 5, but 6 species of bronzebacks that's found in Bukit Kiara. So this is a recent observation by Mr. Uy. Thank you, Mr. Uy, for sending your photograph to me. Yes, and Ms. Teo Lei Ping. So I really, really appreciate my hiker friends and our fellow citizen scientists that observe their findings to me, and it allows me to build my growing checklist of herpetile fauna that's found in Bukit Kiara, and finding Kopstein's bronzeback is very, very exciting indeed. This species is really rare. I've only seen this once ever, so I was very, very excited to hear that it's found in Bukit Kiara as well. Moving on. This is the Malayan striped coral snake. So from the back, they have lines that go horizontally across their patterns. These are stripes. But if you flip it over, they have horizontal bands. So this is how you tell the difference between stripes and bands. Stripes are horizontal, bands are vertical, like you're wearing a bangle. So tigers and zebras are not striped, they are banded. And yes, it's very, very exciting to be able to find striped coral snakes at Bukit Kiara. In fact, this is another species that is a lifer for me that I found in Bukit Kiara. And this is also one that I found on MNS night walk with 20 to 30 people in tow. So yeah, it was very, very exciting for me to see this species. But what's even more exciting is that recently, some of our hiker friends has been able to see this species. This is the gray coral snake, Caliophis gracilis. This snake is extremely rare. Some of us in the community, we call this unicorn rare. Because in the whole of Malaysia, it has been photographed like 5 to 6 times at the most only. And so it's very, very exciting to be able to find the gray coral snake in Bukit Kiara. And this is a relatively recent observation. Mr. Uy, do you know when this was observed? Do you know when this was observed? Last week. Last week. There you go. This is the power of citizen science in action. Yeah, yeah. So very, very exciting indeed to find the gray coral snake in Bukit Kiara. And another observation by Mr. Uy is an elongated tortoise that's found in Bukit Kiara North. Earlier when I showed you the iNaturalist map, you know, most of us when we think about Bukit Kiara, we think about just that central patch. A lot of people don't think about the patch that's above Penchala Link, you know, above the tunnel passway. But we should try to reconsider them as being one contiguous habitat, and for us to protect that patch of forest as well. And I think this observation will be a very useful observation in convincing our government to protect the forest to the north as well. Yeah, the elongated tortoise, the elongated tortoise is also extremely rare and classified as endangered, mind you, yeah. So a very interesting observation. So moving on, I'd just like to point out something strange. This is my own personal observation. I have seen Wagler's pit vipers in the other green patches around Klang Valley, like in KDCF and SACF. But one strange thing is that I have not seen them in Bukit Kiara. So the Wagler's pit viper is an example of a snake that has sexual dimorphism, in which both the males and females look completely different. So as you can see, there's a mating pair here that I photographed in SACF. The top here you can see the male and the bottom the female. The males are light green and they have spots on them, but the adult females are black with some faint banding on them. So yeah, this is how they look like. And while on your hike, if you manage to see one at Bukit Kiara, please take a photo of it and send it to me. I very much like to know that there are Wagler's pit vipers in SACF as well. Yes, feel free to take photos, please. So I actually have many more exciting observations in Bukit Kiara, but I don't think I have the time to highlight all of them. I thank you very much for your attention, and I thank you for the opportunity for me to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Okay, now let me take a few minutes just to recapture, just 1 or 2 minutes, just to recapture what we've really heard today, to really condense, and just to recap as well for those who just tuned in online, this is where we're at. We started the day with our first sharing speaker, Dr. Kriben, who shared about the background of Bukit Kiara and as well as the project of that we're sharing in today here, Magical Mysteries at Bukit Kiara, all about the fireflies. And then after that, we had our expert scientist, Dr. Nada from FRIM, who then went into the findings of the different types of species they found, a little bit on the methodology that was there, and it was a very, very enlightening and very insightful presentation that was shared over there. After that, following Dr. Nada, we had Dr. Terry, who was called in from home, but he was sharing, on the other hand, about citizen science, why the human element to this science is so important, because as leading into that, as Stephen just shared as well, a lot of things require participation, active participation from the community, and I think we have been very, very, very lucky to have avid hikers, to have avid scientists, and just this really amazing spirit that brings people together to want to work together, because fundamentally, all the findings that are happening over here will just lead on to the next generation. I mean, we can of course indulge in our current generation as well, and it's just been incredibly insightful and enjoyable to hear about all the way from the start of the project to where we are at the moment. So, I would like to invite to the stage our very next speaker, Mr. Tan Boon Hua. Tan Boon Hua. Oh, thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. All right. So, Boon Hua is actually a geophysicist by profession and an avid nature and outdoor lover by passion. Bukit Kiara is basically his adopted backyard, and I believe he spends almost just about every weekend or whenever he's free over there with his family, his wife and his daughter. He is deeply passionate about the preservation of Bukit Kiara. And it would be really lovely to hear, in his own words, what he thought about the Citizen Science Project. So without further ado, may I welcome to the stage?
Hi guys, good morning. Right, we've got a few speakers before us. Well, they did a lot of the hard work, a lot of the brain trust work. For me, it's an easy job. I just sign up, I participate, and here I am. Share some of my thoughts. I'm just going to share a bit of what I've seen. So a bit of pictures here and there, a bit of an insight of what, from my personal point of view, and I believe also largely from most of the volunteers and participants, what they've gone through, right? So hopefully that we can gain a bit of appreciation, yeah, of what does it entail being a citizen scientist, a glamorous name for something that, can be as important, as you would like to put it. So what's my relationship with Bukit Kiara? I hike a lot. So ignore the legend part. This is just an app that I signed on, and then it turns out last week, over the past 90 days, okay, I'm not trying to brag here. So I typically look for the steepest and longest stretch of, uphill in the weekend, just to be able to get out, recharge. That's what I love doing, right? So I spend a lot of time in there. I bring my family, got my daughter here with me, my wife, so our family will spend time in there, bring friends, relatives, and it's just very joyous for us to have a backyard, right? It's literally in our backyard, like 5 minutes drive from where I am. I'm not from the Segambut constituency, but I'm still enjoying this piece of green lung. And yeah, it's just amazing. And how did I find out about the fireflies of Bukit Kiara? Well, this was way back, 2017, and look at that number of people crowded. Now we look at this picture, we'll be allergic to it. It's like, oh, what's going on? SOP, right? But back then, I did remember seeing this piece of news in the papers, and also I have a young daughter, so we were constantly looking for ways to, connect her to nature, and that was it. And we were and she was still very young, like 1 year old back then. So we keep that at the back of my mind, and we're like, when can we do this again? And little did I know, so a few years later, there's this nice little program that culminated in us being here, and that's how I got in. It's really simple, and so as a participant, we do get to participate in a number of different types of surveys. Like for me, this is what I've gone through, but in a nutshell, you have the day survey, which is a survey of the environments, right, so of the habitat of the firefly. So we measure certain parameters of where the firefly could actually still live in, like soil pH, soil moisture, and a lot of other parameters, And then you have the most interesting bit, which is really the night survey. And here it's color-coded, right? So you got the orange and the red. So differentiated by complexity, in a sense, or how advanced you are, or rather how much experience you've gone through. So the orange survey is a survey on the tarmac road, which essentially we go through that pathway, and then we just, look out for the Lampreygira larvae, and then we do certain stuff to record the data, which I'll go through in a bit, hopefully a bit better from the pictures coming up. And there's also a night survey that I participated in, and I was privileged enough to be in that session where Dr. Nada was there, and wow, it's really a step up in experience when you go out with a pro, So I'll just share a bit more about that later as well. And also, I put here, there's an ad hoc survey that a couple of us went through, triggered by that report that there's a potential male firefly out there. So we clobbered together a bit of a search party. I didn't find it, but eventually, the team, did manage to find that and sample that male adult. So day survey. So this was my first day survey, and without trying to bore you down with the details, all these details are on YouTube, by the way, on the FOBK YouTube page. So you could really see in detail what we actually do. So these are some of the sampling methods. It involves some measurements, quite a bit of picture taking and documenting them. When at the back end, the scientists would actually collate all this information into something useful, for the survey. And that's my team, led by Hin, on that day. And he brought us on the Great Wall of Bukit Kiara Trail on the way back. We remember that. Right, so this is my first orange survey, and it's very interesting. This was quite, I would say, relatively early on in the program, where we were still using calipers. So when we identify a Lampreygira on our trail, we will, pick it up, and then at that time we actually had to use an actual a caliper to measure the width of it. It's quite labor intensive, and you have to repeat it for every single larva that you encounter. So that took a long time, and eventually we moved on from there. So the brain trust figured out a much more efficient and citizen scientist friendly way to measure the width of the samples. And then there's this marker, this golden marker, you see, that it's used to mark different parts of the a segment of the larva. The reason we do that, it's to do with, because the path that we take, we go in and then we double back. So on the way back, we also observe how many samples that we have already encountered previously. So this actually fits into a model, a formula to calculate, to estimate or rather the population of the fireflies. So yeah, so this is some of the things we do. That's the starworm that Dr. Nada was showing earlier on as well. Yeah, so lots of good stuff at night. Yeah, and then there was another night survey that I was involved in, and this was a kids' night. So Marcus, Marissa, and my daughter Lorraine was there, and yeah, so it was a good session for them. We thought that it goes quite late into the night. We thought the kids wouldn't be able to take it. They would get sleepy by a certain time. No, they just went all the way. Kids are very good spotters. Yeah, we found out we were just struggling to cope to record the data. They're just saying, oh, there's one there, oh, there's another one there. So all three of them were basically just running around spotting. But obviously, we have three people down in terms of people who can help us record the data. So that's another reason why we are lagging behind in terms of data taking. Yeah, right. And yeah, so just a bit of a video that I took for a particularly large Lampreygira larva. Yeah. And yeah. Okay, then this is a night survey I was mentioning about where we went in with Dr. Nada's team. Oh, it's really, really interesting. Yeah? We got a Pyrocelia sample that they took, the green ghost. Yeah, so the Diphinus. I'm not pretending to know everything about all this, to be honest, right? But it's something that I aspire to at some point, so to be able to differentiate the species by some attributes. It's not always that we get to capture a firefly. We were fortunate that we were with the pro. They have their nets. They are very skilled, so they could actually capture these fireflies without harming them very efficiently. Whereas for us, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if it's a good thing if I go out and just capture them and try to tell what species is it. But there are certain other attributes that we can use, such as the color of their light, maybe the pattern, so some of these things that I believe that we can, continually learn and then grow to understand some of these things better, yeah? From a layman point of view, right? And yeah, and so we were also fortunate enough to encounter a Lampreygira larva feeding on a snail. So that was really cool as well, in my opinion. Yeah, and the other video that I'm showing there is this LED indicator light, right? It's a Pyglo luciola. It's also yellow light characterized by that two little stripes, and it blinks. So if you see something yellow out there, well, chances are, it's this particular species. It's a very fascinating, right? So there was this ad hoc survey which Dr. Terry did, went to great lengths to explain earlier on, so I'm not going to repeat that, but essentially, we set up a little bit of a firestorm within our small circle we organized a search party, essentially, just ad hoc. Someone saw this, and they were like, let's go and try and catch it, right? So, sample it, I beg your pardon. So for my case, I went out with me and Natalia, another of our citizen scientists, volunteer. So we met, and just using the tools of the day that we have, right? So we basically just went in, and we have certain clues. Yeah, we were given this clue. It's like a game. Oh, this Mr. Ganesan found this particular vine that looks like a noose. He said, we're on the noose track. Oh, noose track. Do you have coordinates? No. Okay, so we basically had to join the dots, and we managed to find that the knot is actually here. So it's basically the magic carpet trail, the 4K slope, yeah, where he and his group encountered this particular male adult. So we went out, and using my fitness tracker and just taking picture with geotag, we could actually. And also learning from what we observed from Dr. Nada in the Red Night survey, like how she counts what she saw. So we also attempt to repeat that, and then hopefully we could gather some useful information and maybe something to ponder about if citizen scientists were to do something similar in future in terms of counting the samples that you encounter. So that was really fascinating. We didn't find them. Dr. Tari eventually found it. So very fitting finale, I would say. Kudos. Yeah. And yeah, so that's, I hope it's a bit of a snapshot of what I personally, and also I believe quite a number of us went through being a volunteer for this program. So my overall impressions, for a volunteer-based program, yeah, I think everyone here, none of us are professional field biologists by any means, but we do have the support of a very strong, dedicated scientific team. So for a volunteer-based program, I think it's very well run. Communications was spot on, and we know where do we go to. Information were relayed to us on what we have to do, what do we need to perform out there, and I think, well, I'm not privy to some of the information where the organizers see, but I think largely it turned out really well, yeah? Yeah, and also we've observed that, there's continuous adaptation and improvements. So we started off having to measure the samples using the caliper, and then the team devised a way to actually, come up with a grid, and then we just use our phones using the latest technology of the day, take picture, and I'm sure there's a lot of image processing back in the back end to actually come up with a width measurement for the larva, but it helps, yeah? And also, later on, towards the tail end, I think Hari also came up with a tool. So we would typically use a Google Sheets to key in our data. So a lot of data keying in at night, right? But so Hari came up with this web-based form where you could just key in information and it should go into a back end, but we couldn't really test it out. So, but it's something that, will keep on improving and making it easier for citizen scientists to collect information. Yeah, and last but not least, right, there's a supportive volunteers, fellow citizen scientists out there, and they're really passionate. You can feel the energy when you're out there. Highly passionate group of people who have interest in from various aspects, but wanting to make this a worthwhile endeavor, yeah? So really kudos to everyone who participated. And my personal learnings, there are fireflies in Bukit Kiara. It's not a lie, it's not fake news, it's real news, yeah? I have to update myself, it's no longer 6, it's 7 species, as you've heard from Dr. Nada's presentation earlier on. And the current survey, of course, the focus is Lampreygira, the largest larva out there in Bukit Kiara, right? But as you've seen, there's so many other, just from a firefly perspective, there's so many others, 6 other species which, as far as Bukit Kiara is concerned, we really do not know a lot about, their behavior. And, well, adult Lampreygira is highly elusive, so I personally got involved with one search party, and then there's a chance encounter at the start for the female adult, so it's very rare. And throughout our conversation with our scientists, think tanks, there are some, inferences of why there's so many more larvae than adults, things like that there's a pool of, the wealth of knowledge out there, to be discovered, right? So there's really tremendous scope, yeah, to continue this at least as a, as a surveillance program, or we could expand it to include other subject matter, surveying other fireflies, other larvae, etc. Yeah, and also repeating some of the themes that has came up by from earlier speakers. Bukit Kiara hosts enough in there to maintain some biodiversity today. So maybe it's because there's a lack of, forests that drives, the wildlife here, maybe, but maybe it's enough, right? So it is very, very interesting. It's a gem that we really need to protect. And yeah, last but not least, kids are good spotters at night. Very good if you can control them. Yeah, so last slide for me, room for further improvements. Perhaps, I observed that, some team members who are, more curious, so it may be worthwhile supplying a bit more background facts, background information to them, so that they have a more appreciation on why are we taking those pictures with that orange tar, stuff like that. So imparting some of this background information may be important for some, less so for others, but it's something that we probably should have in our back pocket. Better marking tools or Lamprey-Gera, that marker sometimes can be unwieldy in the sense it's fat, and then we are marking and then the ink didn't come out, and I was like, am I marking it right? Am I be able to tell that I have marked on it later on, Like it's something that we can think about, and as I alluded to earlier, spreadsheet data entry is completely fine, but we've already seen, what potentially could be, tools that will help us make the process more efficient, more citizen scientist friendly, so to speak, and final words, many thanks to FOBK, many thanks to the team. It's a job well done. I hope this is just a start, personally, and will I do this again? You bet. I'll do this again anytime. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you so much to all our speakers who have really shared about the moving parts of this project, all the way from the background to the methodology. As some of the previous speakers might have mentioned, it is constantly evolving, so it is a conversation that we're having. And we would like now to extend this conversation to a panel session where we will be having the 4 speakers physically and 1 virtually. This is an opportunity for anyone here to ask your questions. And if you're watching from Facebook Live, feel free to drop your comments or questions in the comments, and we will help channel that onto the stage. Now, every panel must have a moderator, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Leon Quay, our moderator. He is actually a member of the Friends of Bukit Kiara main committee, and he runs a corporate and strategy consulting business with his partners covering Malaysia and Singapore. He has 25 years of legal banking and corporate finance experience, and he is currently also coordinator of the Safe Taman Rimba Kiara working group. Once again, may I invite the speakers, Dr. Krivin, Dr. Nada, Stephen, as well as Boon Hua, up to the stage. I believe we have Terry calling in from home, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is an opportunity to ask your questions, hear them out. We will have actually 2 moderators in a way. We have Leon as well as Dr. Kribben, who will be facilitating the conversation that happens. But let's make this a constant evolving conversation, because this project has definitely been, it's been a core part of this project. So without further ado, Leon, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Karen, and hi everyone. Really fantastic morning of sharing and learning about what has been going on so far, all the work that's been done. Really amazing and so inspiring. I think what we will do is we will just start with some questions among the panelists, and then as we get questions from the floor, anyone on the floor is most welcome to just put up your hand and grab a mic from one of our team members to pose any question that you may have. And of course, for all our audience who are listening online via Facebook Live, please do pose any questions you may have, and we will be very happy to field them here for our panel to address. Okay. Now, I guess just to kick things off, we have Dr. Kribben, who is the president of FOBK. He spoke earlier about how we got to here, how this whole thing came about, starting with some observations by Sunny Wong and Lim Kun Hap a few years ago when they first discovered or observed that there were fireflies, and then they started doing some recordings by themselves, became a bit of a movement, and then it built momentum to where we are today. So I guess, and then Dr. Nada spoke about the study that we've been doing, and Terry also spoke about citizen science and how it works together with the scientists who are spearheading it. And we had Stephen, who spoke about the other biodiversity aspects that have been observed and are observable in Bukit Kiara. And of course, then we got Boon Hwa's sharing about how it feels to be a citizen scientist. So many interesting perspectives from different facets of this picture, right? And in reality, we have never been able to invest in something like this until today. Everything you are experiencing and seeing with us today is all brand new. Yeah? We've never been able to do anything like this in Bukit Kiara. I don't think there have been many of these types of efforts also in the larger Klang Valley, but certainly in Bukit Kiara, this is the first time that we have been able to put together something programmatic like this. So really, it is wonderful to be able to move this process forward. Let me just start with Dr. Kribben. Dr. Kribben, perhaps you want to share in terms of, when we first, when Kun Hap and Sunny Wong first started sharing this, and we started organizing some of these early guided walks. Beyond that, what was it that triggered you to think that maybe there's something larger that we could do here?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Leon. Yeah, I think when we first started, I think what threw me was how much interest there was. I mean, when we did any event on fireflies, I mean, normally when we did events, we had about maybe 20 people coming up or 30 people coming up. Anything to do with firefly, it was like hundreds. So it became very obvious that there was a real magic to fireflies and there was a real pull to it. So I think so we quickly realized this is a very important aspect of Kiara. But more importantly, I think it was a way of getting people hooked on to, understanding and getting engaged with the green lung. So after the initial, forays, the walks and talks, as I mentioned during my presentation, we had this really fortunate opportunity to meet up with some of the scientists, Dr. Wan, for example, and her, her colleagues. And we realized that we could do something a bit more, and so that's where this journey sort of started. And of course, then we met Nada and Terry, and it's been an amazing journey to have brought everybody together. So it's been very interesting, and I think there's a lot more obviously which can be done. But as we heard from Stephen, there's so much more to Kiara, right? Fireflies are obviously important, but there's so much more we can do. And I think if we develop this citizen science approach, develop this engagement, I think it could be a very interesting journey for us in the coming future.
Perhaps just a quick follow-on question, and then after that I'll ask Dr. Nada to add some comments. Is what was the experience of the engagement process with UNDP, specifically the Small Grants Programme coordinators? Because this whole program really was very much anchored in the support that they agreed to offer, in order to run this.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I think if you remember, again, we had a good starting point in the sense that when we first met, and I think if you remember, Leon, you were at the first meeting I remember we had with the UNDP or the SGP team. And I think we sounded quite impressive because we had data with us. You know, when we're talking about this project and fireflies and we would be interested to do this, we actually had a month study, which Dr. Wan had done, very basic, but, you know, it gave us that, you know, that input, and we were able to speak very confidently over the fact that, hey, look, we have an idea, we think this can work, and obviously we want to be funded. But beyond that, I think, you know, both Shinshin and Nurul and Fitra have been very hands-on over the last 15 months. You know, for example, you know, we were very worried. You'll notice, I think, Dr. Nada, in your data, there's about 3 months of missing data. And that's because we had a total lockdown and we couldn't go into the Green Lung. And our whole project was based on actually walking through the Green Lung and getting data. And I remember talking to Shinchin and Fitra and saying, hey, look, you know, we have a problem here, you know, how do we do this and so on. And they were very supportive. They said, look, you know, let's think outside the box and do whatever. So it wasn't like we had to do this or do that. It was, you know, it was very flexible. And I think that was you know, a real, you know, a wonderful thing in the sense that we were able to evolve the project. And of course, we did have the shutdown over 3 months. And in the conversations with JLN, it became obvious that, you know, we could convince them, like, hey, look, this was important, we had to do this, and they gave us special permission for small groups, taking all the precautions that we did. And I think, you know, again, it was good that we could bring all of these partners together to assist us in this journey. So yes, I think it's been good working with the UNDP team or the SGP team. And I hope, you know, we can take this obviously to the next logical step in the next couple of months or years.
Thanks, Dr. Kriban. I'd like to bring Dr. Nada into this, you know, exchange. Doctor, I'm curious to hear your experience of working with UNDP in previous programs, for example, and then, you know, in relation to this particular project, what were your observations about, you know, the support that they have given? Also, do you want to share a little bit about other studies you've done on fireflies and how that compares to this particular study that you've had the chance to do?
Thank you, Mr. Leon. So essentially, for this project, when it comes to the collaboration of FRIM into this project, is actually directly with FOBK. So we were very fortunate to be able to work with FOBK because FOBK is actually the official funder for FRIM to execute this project. And the thing that I see when it comes, I'm not really directly involved with UNDP, mainly with FOBK and also developing the proposal with UBI. And we see that FOBK is very open to our research proposal and the plan that we have, very accommodating as well, understand the needs for us to collect data, even though there's issues with entry to the area. And I'm very glad that it was, although there is some hiccups, but overall it's very smooth, very accommodating, and we didn't expect to be able to complete 9 sessions of at least the rate survey. We are able to do so within the 12 months. So overall, it was a very smooth thing lah. The citizen scientists were able to like ad hoc pun datang and join us. So that is something I think we won't be able to get if we are just working on our own. The information that we also have with the involvement of others, not just the research team, makes this project more valuable in the sense that we get better information within that short span of time. Comparing it with the project I have been involved in, because it was all mainly myself and my team from FRIM. So definitely there's limitation in how many frequent we can go in, observations that we can have, but with this kind of cooperation, I think it's a special, for me, personally, this project is a special project for me, good experience for me as well, that we can actually tap the involvement of people, local, the public, to assist us and also to enrich our findings.
That's wonderful, Doctor. Really, I mean, I don't think we could, look for more sincere testimony about the value of a program like this, and I think we are also pleased, really, to be able to sit together today and share these types of perspectives, coming out of this, and really enthusiastic about, what we can do going forward with it. So can I, on that note, can I invite Terry Dr. Terry Gore, who worked with Dr. Nada, to expand a little bit on, what you were able to leverage with the citizen scientists on. Like, as Dr. Nada said, you kind of like more boots on the ground, as you put it, really. And in terms of between what you would normally be able to do and what you were able to leverage with the citizen scientists to do on this particular project, perhaps you want to share a little bit more.
Yeah, so in terms of just being a scientist, and most scientists are very underfunded, and you tend to have very small teams. So we get a lot of blind spots. For example, like that Lampegira, we spent 9 months, actually we spent like 12 months looking for it, and we never found it. But it's, the public who were informed that, we were studying fireflies, and because they were informed and, they knew that we were looking for it, they were able to share information with us, and that really allowed us to gain insights into some of these species that we wouldn't have gotten if we didn't engage the public in the first place. So I feel like that's one of the most important parts about this workshop, as well as they really helped us out in terms of like data collection. Some days we just had very few people. Some days we had, now with all the COVID cases and everything, sometimes you can't get to the field, the close contacts and all that. And the community really stepped up to help the scientists in that regard.
Thank you, Dr. Terry. As we were talking over the last couple of days, especially in relation to this, to the male Lampegira, right? I started to understand, and especially from Dr. Nada, just this morning, that and perhaps this is what I want to share with the larger audience, that you were kind of getting to a conclusion, or you were starting to reach a possible conclusion that there was no male Lampegira, in the possibility of there being no male Lampegira in the area, and that was kind of your theory. Perhaps I could ask either you or Terry to elaborate on that.
Oh, okay. I think I'll answer this. Yeah, so 12 months without seeing any sign of a male, we were kind of like entertaining the idea that maybe the male just doesn't exist. Maybe in some insects there is the ability to reproduce without a male. So we were like considering that maybe that might be the case. Like you spend 12 months looking for something and you don't find it. But yeah, as with all science, you come up with hypotheses, you test them, and sometimes they don't work out. And I think we're lucky that we managed to find the male and disprove that hypothesis.
It was we had a beginner's luck when we found the female on our first sampling session, which was in March last year. So we was thinking, oh, banyak benda yang kita boleh discover ni. There's many more months to go. So, and then as we go along, why is there no more? Why is it just the larva, recording the Lampreygira larva, and never once the adults? And then, but at the end of the project lah, sekiranya the closing, because we get to know the volunteers more closely, we have their contacts, they have our contact numbers, so they are able also to directly contact us and just send us short message. There's this picture, for example. So then from there we managed to like sort of piece in the different, maybe it's in this area, or and then when they describe further that they saw it very near the dusk when the sun set, so we say, oh, maybe we need to go earlier. So all that has enabled us to sort of orang kata solve this case lah. That at least when Ganesan found it, it's already there on a picture, but we do really still need the specimen to verify that is actually the Lampreygira male. So like Terry was saying, it's a good way. That's how with people able to share the information directly to the scientists, that we are able to get more information out and understand further.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Actually, I was going to just follow through on this. You know, Dr. Terry, I was looking at your slides, and you were showing, I thought it was quite interesting that sightings of Lampreygira in this part of the world have been very few. And the records you were showing seem like they are going back to the turn of the century, 18 something, and then there was one in 1903. So what, if this is true and you are able to identify this as a new species, this could be a very significant finding, isn't it? Because, you know, if you haven't had sightings of this recorded anywhere, then, you know, it could be very interesting. So my question to you is that the right understanding? And secondly, what is the process we have to go through now? I know you have the male Lampreygira sample. What is the process you have to go through now to be able to identify this? I understand it's not that straightforward. There are a lot of steps, and maybe both of you can, you know, give us a bit of an insight into this. Maybe Terry, you start first.
Okay. The dates that you saw there is not observations, but it's when the species was described. And a lot of these species were described like turn of the century, like actually, you know, 2 centuries ago by now, in like the late 19th century and all that. So yes, in this region, actually, there has not been any recent descriptions of Lampreygira species. In China, recently, there was like 3 species described. But within Southeast Asia, I think there have not been any recent descriptions so far. And the process in which we have to go through right now is, first we have to rule out that it is already described species. So we have to verify whether it's one of these species that's already been described, or is it something totally different. And if it doesn't fall into these current 3 species that we know is in the region, then we have to go through a process which is called description. We basically have to describe a species. We have to measure it out. We have to document exactly what does the species look like, what are its structures, what makes it unique compared to other species. And we're probably going to have to work with Dr. Wan Farida. She's actually watching right now. So yeah, it's quite a long process. We got to like compare specimens and all that kind of stuff. So the journey on this is just starting. Can't promise anything yet, but yeah, hopefully there is potential for new discoveries in this with this.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah,
we are running short
sure.
time. So
just a very quick thing. Thanks, Terry, for that. You mentioned one Florida. This is the original person who did some work with us. She works in Singapore, and she's a taxonomist. So hopefully, you know, we all work together and see how we move this forward. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so jumping quickly to Stephen, in relation to the other biodiversity, right? I think the question here is, if we were to try to expand, you know, on the biodiversity, do you think camera traps are a natural next course of action, or what do you think is a, shall we say, a very, for the want of a cliche, quick win, you know, in terms of what we should do next?
Thanks, Leon, for the question. Yes, I think camera trapping will be very interesting in Bukit Kiara. Of course, there's a significant risk of our cameras being tampered if you put camera traps at Bukit Kiara, and the hiker traffic at Bukit Kiara is quite high as well. But perhaps after a quick survey session, we can determine ideal locations for camera trapping, and I think it's worth pursuing. Some of the conversations that we had during the break, there's a chance that there are other mammals that we have yet to discover in Bukit Kiara, maybe small mammals as well. And yes, small mammal surveys will be another interesting avenue of research in Bukit Kiara. I certainly don't have the skills to sample small mammals, but perhaps you can invite another scientist that has the necessary skills for that. Other than that, another thing that I'd like to highlight is we are working on a booklet together, Dr. Kriban, and there are many other citizen scientists, if you may, or biodiversity experts. And a lot of us have our personal data that we've gathered over the years. And I think it's important for us to publish that as well.
Right.
Yeah, so that's out there. That would be a quick win, I'd say. Yeah.
Thank you. That's great. Actually, there were two questions online. And one was amazing presentation and experience shared by Bun Hua. Do we have the opportunity to participate in the Citizen Scientist Program for Bukit Kiara? How to join? So, I think, we're at the tail end of this session, but my question to you, Bun Hua, is that we obviously need to keep this program running. Do you think you would be part of that group, or you'll be able to give us a hand to keep the citizen science data gathering alive? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the citizen studies cohorts, right? It's all volunteers, but with passion, right? So I think within, personally for myself, I speak for myself, within means, right? Within time and resources means, yes, I'll continue for sure, because it's a place that I go to very often anyway. So it's an easy win in that sense. But yeah, so it also goes back to a personal question I have as well, like how do we move on, right? How do we proceed? This is just a start, yes, but there was a seed funding from the UNDP, right? So there are obviously a lot more hurdles, especially from the organizer for FOBK point of view. But I think what we have here is a pool of human resource, sort of that we can tap into for sure.
In fact, that goes on nicely to the next question, which is from Mahani. She was basically asking, survey done, data collected, what next? Right, so yeah, sure. I think, we as the committee, FOBK, are really keen to keep this going. Of course, we need to find funds to do this, but I'm hopeful. I think, our experience so far has been, once you bring this kind of things together and you have data and you are doing real work like this, people will come to fund us, and so that's one. And secondly, I think we have a pool of resources now. We have 16 ambassadors. Hopefully, we can use that as our pool to move forward.
Yeah, I think also plenty of learnings from the whole process. How we log the data, how do we do it more efficiently, how do we deploy more technology, just to make work easier, faster, more efficient, more accurate, right? So, but plenty of learning from this first round. And I think we're all very enthused and optimistic about what else we can build on from here. A lot of fantastic building blocks, I would say. do we have any questions from the floor before we close this particular session? Yes, Andrew.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I'm Andrew. I'm one of the volunteers for one of the night surveys. So my question is a bit more general. This is regarding, from your vantage point as committee members of FOBK, what do you perceive as the threat level of Bukit Kiara being developed, right? Because just now YB Hana said about 274 acres has been gazetted for the Taman Awam berskala besar, right? So as a resident in Hatamas, we always hear that, oh, the MRT is going to be developed, Matahari project is going to be developed. So a lot of news, it seems pessimistic. And a lot of us, we lose hope that, one day Bukit Kiara will be gone, right? So but then you guys have been in the committee of FOBK longer. Maybe you can, adjust. Is it the public perception? Because news like to sensationalize a lot of things. And is it really under threat, or how much is it under threat, and I think I'm coming from a point of trying to adjust the public perception to be more factful and hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think the threats obviously do exist. They are real, because this land, the real estate is so valuable. And so, we are always having to be mindful of this. And we have pieces of developments which are being proposed and taking place right in the fringes of Bukit Kiara, which could have great impacts on the biodiversity. For example, I'm sure Leon is in a much better position to talk about this, but the Taman Rimba Kiara, if it got developed, it will kill off a whole bunch of biodiversity. It's also a staging point for migratory birds. And so, it can have a lot of impacts. Then we have threats from the adjacent, not only is it Kiara itself, to some extent with the help of YB and our continuing efforts, we are hoping that the gazettement can be complete in the next couple of years so that the whole 400 acres are gazetted. But, we have to remember that gazettement is actually a very small, it's a very poor protection for any green lung. We are being protected as a public park. And that can be changed or reversed at any time. This is precisely why we need to exist. A group like Friends of Bukit Kiara, the citizen scientists, the very, very strong RA we have, who have been very supportive, the Residents Association, all of this has to come together, because without this, without the continual, addressing of these issues, it'll become obviously potentially a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So 274 acres gazetted, another 100 plus acres still on lease, but expiring by 2027. Okay. So currently the commitment so far from the government has been that nothing will be done with these 100 plus acres until the lease expires, at which point it will be gazetted to become part of the park. Okay. So that is the current commitment we have. And we operate on the basis of that expectation. The fact that the 274 acres are gazetted gives us plenty of leverage. Yes, it can always be degazetted. So Dr. Kribben's point is extremely important, that gazettement is just one part, right? It can always be degazetted. It takes the public to stand up and say, yes, it is gazetted, it must always stay gazetted, and it must be managed in the right way. And it takes all of us, contributing in this way. This is a natural, organic thing where all of us appreciate the value of what comes out of a natural treasure, right? It's not forced. Nobody has paid us to do any of this. Yeah, we do this because we believe in it. Now, this must come out more we all have to, together, you know, we do all our small parts. Citizen scientists, it's like a hobby. It's something you enjoy doing, you can bring your family to do, but it makes a difference. The data we collect, the information, what that points to, all of that matters, okay? So small bits, all of this all count. And that is what we are endeavoring to encourage and support, so that today we have, you know, we have 98 citizen scientists who were recruited. Out of that, 50 who actually did field work, 16 Firefly ambassadors. That's just from one round, right? Do a few more rounds and imagine the kind of support that we will have, because each Firefly ambassador, each citizen scientist radiates into their own ecosystem. Yeah? That is the idea, that we continue radiating positivity. So at the same time, where we need to take action, we take action. So Friends of Bukit Kiara is involved in litigation right now versus Dewan Bandaraya for approving an alteration to the city plan, which tries to allow a condo development close to Bukit Kiara Park. Right? And this is not Taman Rimba Kiara. Taman Rimba Kiara is a long-running litigation. There's a new litigation which FOBK has directly become involved in, together with residents in TTDI, to challenge another condo development. Okay? So where action needs to be taken, we have to take the action. Because, you know, otherwise people will say, no, you're not serious, what? If it's really against the law, why aren't you doing anything about it? So, you know, it's not like we are interested in being litigious, but if it needs to be done in order to protect the larger gazettement agenda, then that is part of the mission for FOBK.
I think, you know, with that, we are going past time. Maybe we should wrap this up. Is there any
But sorry, yeah, Hin had
go
a
ahead.
question. Yeah.
Hi, I may be wrong. What I'm hearing today, when you talk about biodiversity, we are focusing today on the fauna. We are not even, there is a biodiversity of the flora, which we have to protect. Without the flora, there is no fauna. My worry is that the current development that are coming through to North Kiara is going to wipe out a large swath of unique plants that are there today. So I'm not sure what we can do to protect all these unique plants that are endangered in North Kiara, right? Secretly, Kunhap and us are working on what is uniquely found in North Kiara and see whether we could translocate some of this across into the sanctuary of Bukit Kiara. But obviously, this is not in line with what GLN's objective is. So I'm not sure how we can do this to make sure that we don't lose the biodiversity of the flora in North Kiara.
Maybe a very quick response. I think Hin and Kunhap, obviously this is a very important area. I would suggest we form a small team. We look at you know what's important, and come up with some kind of a project where we can actually bring people together and move forward. I know. I think it's a major subject, and hopefully we can move forward on that basis. Thank you so much for raising it.
Okay, so a very lively, animated session, and thank you everyone for all the sharing that we've had. You know, it's been very meaningful, really, for me, and I'm sure for everyone here. So just want to thank everyone. A round of applause. And pass it back to Karen. Yeah, Karen, thank you.
Thank you very much. Speakers, may I invite you back to your seats? All right, while we have that going on, just something that we've been talking so much about today is citizen scientists. And it's very important to note also that these are all volunteers, and we really run the gamut in terms of the people who have joined us and participated in our project. We have retirees, IT specialists, as well as housewives, teachers, people from the science field, biologists, all the way to a sales engineer, mathematician, husbands and wives, and even apologies for the static, grandparents with their children. So, what we've put together a little video here just to capture, it doesn't quite capture the full range of all our citizen scientists, but we wanted to kind of honor the man hours that they've logged in. That's about 102 hours all put together. And without further ado, please enjoy this short video that we've put together just to highlight our citizen scientists and Firefly ambassadors. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Borg.
Hi, I'm Natalia.
And we are citizen scientists.
Hi, my name is Alex. I am just an ordinary citizen living in Petaling Jaya.
My name is PK Chan.
Hello everyone, I am Hari.
Hi, my name is Nisa. I have been given some pretty interesting questions for me to answer.
So what are the top 3 things that I learned about fireflies of Bukit Kiara? Number 1, that they are fireflies in Bukit Kiara. For such an urban setting, it is a big surprise.
Because here I learned during the surveys that there are quite a varieties of fireflies, and Bukit Kiara alone houses about 5 to 6 species of them.
I mean, can you imagine a 300-acre area cordoned by Plus Highway, LDP, Sprint Highway? In this area alone, we have 7, more than you can find from any other place.
There's male and female, and that the male species is super elusive.
I've learned that only the males can fly. Both males and females, including the larvae, can emit light from the tip of their abdomen.
Bukit Kiara has the largest firefly larvae of the genus Lamprigera, and the female genus keep their larva form throughout their life cycle.
All the fireflies in Kiara are solitary fireflies. They are not like the one that you see in Kuala Selangor where it becomes like a whole Christmas tree blinking here and there.
The larvae feed mainly on snails and slugs.
It's the part of giving back to a place that you come for exercising, hiking, bicycle, enjoy the flora and fauna of this place. That's the thing that excites me to actually join this program.
It is wonderful to be a citizen scientist. We can also learn about the amazing nature at Bukit Kiara, and we get to go on interesting hikes. We also can meet other citizen scientists and exchange ideas.
I'm able to expand my understanding of Bukit Kiara, which I really love.
It was very great and wonderful to meet quite a few researchers and experts of the field to learn about the fireflies and its habitats.
Each field survey is a continuous learning process for me in acquiring knowledge of fireflies from the scientists that led us, and as well as fellow citizen scientists during the field survey.
I've been able to meet so many amazing people, a biologist, someone who's in environmental consultancy. I have met moms, parents, children.
Being a citizen scientist is fun because you learn new things, you walk and you see little fireflies.
And you also meet a lot of people that are also curious like us. We exchange a lot of information.
And I think being a citizen scientist allows me to be more aware of, like, if I look at an insect, what kind of insect it is, what role does it play in the forest, who are their prey, who are their predators. And those kind of information for me allows me to really appreciate nature better.
When I saw the tree frog with Uncle Terry.
When I found a rubber tree seed on the floor, and then we took it home, and then one time in the middle of the night it just burst and scattered everywhere.
My first time out here seeing the fireflies with my own eyes in Bukit Kiara, and that to me is a really magical experience.
We were so engrossed and so committed in our survey, oblivious of time, and it was already midnight despite the raining nights. The guide was so desperate and thought that we have lost in the jungle and about to call the bomba to stage a rescue.
The moment where I found that spiny-heeled turtle.
When we spotted a firefly or lampreygira scavenging on a snail that was crushed on the ground.
We saw this ant-looking thing on a leaf, and Terry goes, "No, it's not an ant," and he says it's a spider. And when I looked at it, that's when I learned that there's such a thing as an ant imitating spider.
But the most meaningful moment was definitely about leading a group of people into the forest. I think that is very meaningful for me because it shows how simple the whole process is.
Actually, I still remember the first night with Dr. Nada, and she was like in front of me. It's like, oh, found this, oh, found that. It's like, you can see this, you can see that. And I'm with my red night light and everything. It's like, I don't see anything. And she's being so cute in Ibu and all. It's like, Nisa, you need to turn off your lights. So, kind of crazy, but yeah, in the dark, turn off your lights. And 1, 2, suddenly you go and see everything. It's like Jake Sully in this Avatar.
I've only one advice for you. Go for it.
Be like Nike, just do it.
But don't worry so much about the mumbo jumbo about scientists and all. I mean, if I can, you can too.
You do not need a huge background, but what you do need is kind of curiosity and also a sense of community.
Be the ambassadors to spread the awareness and spread the knowledge to common public.
There's close to no barrier to being one. It's low cost, the process is simple. As long as you follow the proper procedures and whatnot, you are able to also become scientists that produce research results that are very useful.
We play a complementary role in the biodiversity preservations of Bukit Kiara, which is the last green lung in Kuala Lumpur.
It's a very interesting, educational, rewarding experience, and get your family along, get your friends along.
You'll end up with a lot more rewards than regrets.
We encourage anyone who likes nature, hiking, and finding new things to become a citizen scientist and help with the Bukit Kiara Firefly project. Agree. Bye. Bye.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much. Technical issues as always. All good? Okay, yeah, so just wanted to say thank you so much to so many citizen scientists who have been the backbone of this project. Some of them are with us, some of them couldn't make it because for various reasons, family vacations, voting in Johor, just being away, but all their efforts are recognized, and we are very grateful for all their contribution to making this project so successful. Now, to bring this project together is no small feat. And it is with great thanks to the core members for really being the heart of this project. In our final segment today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the stage Lim Siu Ming, who will be hosting a junior citizen scientist segment. We've already heard from the adults. Interesting, but let's hear from the kids instead and see what their point of view is. I'm sure it will be very interesting and enlightening. just to speak a little bit about Siu Ming. She will describe herself as a housewife, but she's actually, she was a partner in one of KL's largest law firms until hanging up her robes after 19 years. And now she finds fulfillment in having time for her family and volunteering with FOBK to keep it healthy and having flourishing relationships with her children. Siu Ming, may I invite you to the stage?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for spending your Sunday with us. My name is Siu Ming. Here, and after a somewhat serious morning so far with the adults, we get to let our hair down a little bit and hope to have some laughs with the kids. This segment showcases some of our junior volunteers. It lets us see the impact of our survey work and Bukit Kiara on our young ones. Now, you've heard just now, in 7 full months, we've trained more than 50 citizen scientists. Amongst them are 9 children, brilliant all of them. They were fun, they were funny, they were clever, and they were very exciting to work with, frankly. And they added much joy and laughter during our surveys when they worked alongside the adults. Now, with me today are 5 of our brilliant young volunteers. Please help me welcome to the stage our junior citizen scientist of the magical mysteries of Bukit Kiara, Lorraine Tan. Jay Hariharan. Alfie, where are you? Alfie Saiful Azahari. And joining us from home virtually is Marcus and Marissa Lim. Hi, hello guys. Hi everyone.
Hi. Hi.
Are you feeling nervous today, Alfie? No. No? You know who's nervous? Who? I am. Oh. You know who's not nervous too? I bet you Lorraine is not nervous. Lorraine, are you excited to be here today? Yes? Do you want to hold the mic? Speak to the mic? Yeah.
My name is Lorraine.
Lorraine, are you 5 years old?
I'm 6.
You're 6? Have you been hiking in Bukit Kiara with Mommy and Daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah? I need the clicker.
Thank
you. What do you like about Bukit Kiara? Is it the monkeys? The trees? Lauren, what is this? What is this that you're wearing today? Can you show everybody what you're wearing today? It's a special shirt that Mommy made, right? Yeah. Why don't you come down here and show us the shirt that Mommy made for you? Can you tell us what these things are on the shirt? Fireflies. They're fireflies? Wow. Fireflies. Can I see? Can you see these things here? They're fireflies that Mommy made on your shirt? Did you see a lot of fireflies in Bukit Kiara?
Yes.
Yes. And what about this clip here? It's a very special clip that Mommy made. Can you tell us what the clip is?
On the clip is a lumpy giraffe.
It's a lumpy giraffe clip. Can I show everybody the clip here? It is. Can you all see the clip? Yeah. It's wearing a hat. This lumpy giraffe is wearing a hat, isn't he? And what is this yellow thing at the bottom?
Lights.
It's light?
Yes.
Lumpy giraffe has lights?
Yes.
What color are they? Do you remember?
Yellow.
Yellow. Why do you think they have lights?
Yellow.
What are the lights for? Jay, what are the lights for?
I think to attract mates and what's it called? Scare away predators.
That's right, Lauren. It is to tell the other fireflies that I like you. Can I be your friend? It's a language of love. Lauren, remember we gave you a very special book? Did you bring that book with you today? Yes. Where's the book?
Yes.
Can you show everybody this book? Yeah. You want to open the book? What is this book? It's a book about you in your trips to Bukit Kiara, isn't it? Yes? Now you wrote something very special in the book. Can you read out what you wrote in your book to everybody?
I made new friends, Marcus and Marisa. I learned about Lampigera. Fireflies can bring their lights. Lampigera can't. Instead of one light, they have two. We found big and small larvae. Some ones may not be able to bring their lights, but are special. They have horizontal lines that glow.
Now, you also drew something very special in the book. I'm going to show everybody what you drew. Is that okay? Yeah, this one. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see? Now, this is what Lorraine drew in her book. Lorraine, what is that? What is that squiggly thing that looks like a worm at the top?
A star worm.
It's
a star worm.
And then the green spots, what are the green spots?
It's light.
And then the big one at the bottom, what is that supposed to be?
A Lampigera.
A Lampigera, well done. Did you enjoy your time looking for the Lampigera larva? It was so fun, right? Yeah. Marcus and Marisa, can you hear me at home?
Yes.
Marcus, how old are you?
I'm 9. I'm turning 10 this June.
And Marisa?
I'm 8. I'm turning 9 this August.
Marcus, what do you want to be? What do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a herpetologist.
A herpetologist. That's is it a reptile and an amphibian specialist, correct? Expert.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite reptile?
Snake.
Snake.
I knew that.
You know that? How did you know that was his favorite reptile?
Snake.
You know it's snake?
Yes.
Marcus taught me a very important lesson about snakes. Do you know there's a difference between venomous and poisonous? Correct, Marcus? Elfie, do you know what's the difference?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay, that's what happens when you ask the son of an entomologist. I'm going to try Jay instead. Jay, what's the difference? Venomous and poisonous.
Like you said, I think Alfie's the best person to answer this.
Marcus, we need your help. We don't know the difference. Can you tell us the difference?
Venom has to be injected, like from a set of fangs or a stinger. But poison has to be when you ingest something poisonous, like a frog. Like a frog, if you eat a frog, you can get stomach ache for a while.
Don't eat a frog. Don't eat a frog. You get a stomach ache, right?
You must clean it properly first. But I suggest don't eat frogs.
Okay, Marcus, you have been going to Bukit Kiara as well with Kong Kong, Mr. Lim Kum Hap, to help him with some work to look and take care of the fireflies. Do you remember?
Yes.
What is one cool thing you've learned about the fireflies in Bukit Kiara?
That only the males can fly and the females can't.
You, Marisa, any cool thing you've learned about the fireflies in Bukit Kiara? No? Marissa, what are you doing here? Do you know what you're doing here with Kong Kong? No? Look, pardon? Maybe Lauren knows. Lauren, do you know what they're doing here? Yes? Okay, Terry, we got a problem. We're gonna help. We're gonna explain this more to the kids next time. What are we doing here? Jay and Alfie, do you remember this picture that was taken that night? Yeah.
Yes.
No. Can we give a mic to Jay? This was the night that the two of you met for the first time. Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember this. Yes.
That's you, Jay, on the left, and then Alfie, and then Dr. Nada, third from the left, correct? How old are you, Alfie?
15.
And Jay, you are 17 this year?
No, I'm 16 in June. So,
My
yeah.
goodness. I heard you boys are like Instagram buddies now, correct?
Alfie doesn't even have an Instagram. He just created one just for me. Actually, I actually made that account like about a year ago because, why not? Because you don't slander me, alright? Okay, that's called slander, okay?
You know, it's amazing. This program, this project, people meet for the first time, you know, and within hours they just bond. They were just bond over nature and their love for hiking. It's just so wonderful, and you see it right here, testament of how close the group of volunteers are. What do teenagers post on Instagram these days?
They post, they just, you know, just post pictures of themselves mainly. But not me, okay? I'm built different because I only post scenery. And and just one picture of me smiling in Instagram.
Well, say you.
Yes,
I don't know that because I don't do Instagram.
Of course.
Jay, what's that you're doing? You're holding a net.
Oh yeah, this is actually right after I caught my first ever firefly. I think it was in the same night that I met Alfie. Me, Dr. Nada, and my dad went to catch some fireflies, and this was the first one I caught. And I told my dad to take a picture of it right after. Yeah.
Wow. And that's you and Dad, isn't it?
Yes, my dad right there.
That's Dad, Mr. Hariharan Shanmugam, who is also our Firefly Ambassador. Dad is here, Mom is here. This has become, I think, a father-son bonding session for you every time you go for the surveys, correct?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that's
How has it been?
It's been great. It's been great. My dad has always been someone who's liked nature a lot. He used to take me on hikes when I was younger, but as I grew up, my interest kind of faded. But with this, it is another way to spend time with him in the forest.
Wow. So you think you're going to keep... I think your mom who's here, she's going to cry.
I think...
Oh, she can't take it.
I think she just went out.
Oh, okay. But do you think you would do this with Dad? Again and again?
With my mom?
With Dad.
Oh.
What's wrong with doing it with your mom?
With my dad? Yeah, of course. Yeah, but I don't know how many of these are going to happen again. So I hope that does continue.
Well, as many times as we can do this. And we will welcome you and your father anytime. This one, what are you doing here?
Yeah, this is after I caught a firefly. We are meant to, put the number. I think it's a number relating to the waypoint where you find it, and you just mark it on the capsule that you get it. Yeah, pretty simple task.
So again, did you find this interesting?
Yeah, of course. Why else would I be here doing that? Yeah, of course I did.
Did you think it was going to be so interesting? Was it?
No, no.
You expected this?
I didn't think it'd be that interesting. I knew it'd be interesting to find the fireflies, but I never thought I'd find myself in a position actually catching them. And I think that was definitely my highlight of this whole experience.
Wow, okay. And Alfie, this is you coming out with your mom, Dr. Nada, who was there leading the firefly sampling team that night. That's you, Dr. Nada, third from the right in sky blue shirt, and then that's you next to her in gray. Be honest, that night when you came, were you a willing volunteer?
Okay, this is not the best picture of me, but okay.
Focus!
Okay, I would say yes, and my mom invited me. She's saying that I was forced, okay? And I wasn't forced, I was invited, and I was like, yeah, okay, sure. A change of nature, I haven't been outside for a while, so might as well go to Bukit Kiara. And yeah, and also this is not my,
Alfie, you can just admit it, you didn't want to be there.
I think that's coming through. That is coming through. But your mom introduced me to a new term that night, paksa rela. What does that mean?
I don't know, while we were in the car, so while we were in the car, she was explaining to me, like, you know, how are we going to say that how my mother convinced me to come with her, and she keeps making up like words that had already been existed, but making them worse.
You know she's here, right, your mom?
Hey, mom, don't take it too personally, okay?
What do you know about mom's work? What do you think she does for a living?
Well, when I was in Bukit Kiara, that I know that she studies in fireflies and insects, how they live, how they breed, I think, maybe. Mostly just involves in insects, you know, because I keep, it's kind of interesting for me that I see her doing.
So cool, right?
Yes, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Before going out with, for field trips with her, how cool did you think her work was?
Well, I never thought much it back then.
A scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, scale it. All right. So, say 8.
And then now that you...
Not being too harsh, okay?
That is a lot, actually. Now, after you've gone for a few trips with her...
Yeah.
And how cool do you think her work is now?
Well, before, since I was mainly in a boat, you know, riding a boat instead of, like, seeing them up close, so I see it as more, like, interesting, you know, because I never knew that fireflies are more cooler up close, because basically sometimes my mom invited me to go to Kuala Selangor not Kuala Selangor, what's it called? There's a place where it's like in Sabak Bernam, Sungai Besar. She invited me to go there, but all I did was just row the boat with her and just spot some fireflies. Oh, look, there's firefly over there. I mean, I think that was like a bit boring, as I might say. But as we went to Bukit Kiara, it's more exciting. You find something new every step you take. Like, oh my God, look, a glowworm. I'm like, oh, it's cool, yeah. and then I saw a lampijera. Oh my God, that is a big insect. I was like, it's like amazing. It's big. Yeah.
Yeah, we get it. It's big.
Yeah.
So that was the first time you got up close and personal with a firefly.
Yes.
Well, that was so cool, right?
Yeah, very cool.
Was that like the coolest thing?
Yeah, yeah. It's like better than sliced bread.
Where does he get all this from, Dr. Nada? Jay, how do I encourage more teens like you and Alfie to come out and help us become volunteers?
That's a hard question. I think just show them what we do, show them how you get to meet new people, talk to new people, and just show the benefits of doing it, like it actually has a real impact. Yeah, I think just have to show the facts, be transparent, that's all.
Okay. Lorraine, do you know what nature means? What is nature? Marcus and Marisa at home, what is nature? For 10 points, what is nature?
Nature?
Nature. What is nature?
Nature is...
Who are you looking?
Environment?
Okay, you're not allowed to Google the answer. You cannot ask help. What is nature?
Nature is an environment with trees and animals.
Ah, C, J, nature is? You weren't paying attention when you... Okay, how important is nature to us? Marcus?
Oh, nature is very important. Without trees, there will be no oxygen. And without oxygen, we will not be able to live.
Wow. Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Maybe just one last question. If you have one superpower to use in the jungle, boys, what would you do? What would that be?
I'm sorry, there's a fly in my mind.
It's your magnetism, you know.
Okay, to be honest, a superpower to use in the jungle. Alright,
Yeah.
so maybe revive extinct animals because, as you can see, because if you want to see dinosaurs, like extinct animals, you have to like go to the museum or maybe see it in AR or Google it. But if I had the superpower of like reviving dead animals or something, yeah, that sounds so weird when I say out loud. But yeah, if I revive them, it'll be like, you know, it'll be like, you know, see to pull them out close instead of like seeing them in
only reading about them in the books, seeing them in movies, going to a museum when they're already dead.
If you see them in real life, then that would be cool.
Yeah. Jay?
As much as I hate to admit this, I think teleportation, because after 2 hours of slowly walking in the dark, all I want to do is go home at that point. So yeah, I'll just teleport
I thought you
home.
enjoyed your bonding session with Dad.
Yeah, I do, but eventually you just, you know, you get too tired. You get too tired.
Okay, that's all the time we have for everybody. Please help me thank Lorraine Tan, Alfie and Jay, and Marcus and Marisa at home. I hope that you are all as inspired by me with these kids. I hope you're all as inspired by me, like me, with these kids. Thank you so much, kids. This is the part where we want to acknowledge our citizen scientists. From the ashes of COVID, we have our own frontliners, our volunteers, the citizen scientists. Now, if our survey method was the bees, these volunteers, they breathe life. They breathe life into our methods. It gives me great pleasure to introduce some of them here today. Please help me thank and applaud these wonderful volunteers for their immense contribution to the project. Elfie Saifer Azahari, Andrew Yao, Chen Pei, Xia Zizun. Andrew, can you stand up so we know where you are? Stop looking at the back, Andrew, come on. Yes, it's you, Andrew. Alfie, Andrew, Pei, please stand up. Zizun, Xia Zizun, Hariharan Shanmugam, J. Hariharan, Karen Wong, Lorraine Tan, Nisa Muhammad Isa, Ui Tian Hit, PK Chan, Tan Woon Hua, Marcus and Marisa Lim at home, and Mr. Lin Kun Hap, and so many of them online. If I've not mentioned all your names, please accept my apology. As we come to the end of our event, please help me welcome back to the stage Dr. Cribben to give his closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Xiuming. Well, we're coming to a close, obviously, and it's been an amazing session. I think all of us can agree. So much sharing, so much new knowledge, so much new information. I think that's been fantastic. I think there's been a video shown of the citizen scientists. I think many of you, Hari, I've got a list of all of you who have been very much involved here. Hari, Jay, Nisha, Sean, Alex, Hin, PK Chan, Boon, Natalia. I mean, all of you have gone beyond the requirements of this project. And we really like to salute you guys and thank you. We will be having a separate session with all of you, and we give out the citizen scientist certificates sometime later in a few months' time. And hopefully we'll meet again at that time. I'd like to just finish off by saying that this has been an incredible journey, and as we have realized and we've talked about, there's so much more to be done over the next months and years, and I hope we can basically do that together and move forward. Have you got the? Yeah. We're just going to show you. Tika has been very busy, as you can see, drawing up basically all the key discussion points today. I'm just going to get Vitak to show it on the screen. This will be an incredible record for us of the discussions we've had, all the key points, and you can see it's beautifully done. And hopefully, we can keep this as our permanent record of this meeting. Vitak? And this is something which.
Hi, I'm Board.
There we are.
Hi, I'm Nadia. And we are citizen scientists.
Right, so you can see the record of the meeting. That's amazing, right? Can we give her a wonderful hand? All right. She's captured the essence of our journey today and our discussions, and this has been fantastic. So here we are. We'll be able to share this later once Tika has got that finalized. But thank you again. Let's hope we can meet soon. There'll be a lot more activities coming up. And if those of you who have not joined Friends of Bukit Kiara, please sign up. I think the only way we can protect this as is for us to work together in unison. Thank you. And one last announcement. Sunny Wong is here. We are going to be celebrating the World Firefly Day. We've been talking about whether this year we should in fact do it in Bukit Kiara. This will be sometime in July, so keep a lookout for the dates in our website and so on. And hopefully we can all get together again for a big celebration at that time. Okay, on that note, thank you. Karen.
Thank you so much to everyone. This wraps up the event. So thank you for all those who tuned in online. As Dr. Cribben mentioned, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can be 16 and above. By all means, come and join us on Instagram. Show us how it's done. And we're also on Twitter as well as YouTube. So follow us on our socials for all the next news that will be happening. Because I believe we will also be sharing the findings. Give us a bit of time to process it, and we'll be sharing whatever that was condensed and shared by Dr. Nada, Dr. Terry online as well. So stay tuned for that. So once again, thank you for everyone for giving us your time, truly, on a Sunday, no less. For all those who are still here, Dr. Nada has very kindly prepared some microscopes at the back, where you can actually have a close-up look at all the specimens that were seen and gathered from all the field surveys. For all those who are here as well, do enjoy some light food and refreshments that we've prepared for you outside. Have a great rest of the day, and thank you again. Thanks everyone. Have a very good Sunday.